Yeah.
Welcome everybody to the first podcast with all three Mulligans.
Sam Raimi.
Yep, the Sam Raimi verse of Anyway, who are we talking about today?
Today we'll be talking about, obviously, Tobey Maguire. We'll be bringing up Andrew Garfield. And you always know we're bringing up Thomas Holland. You know.
Yes.
Man.
And who's sitting there right next to you?
This is actually Uncle Lewis.
Uncle Lewis.
Who is this, Jaden?
That's Spider-Man right
Which
there.
one, though?
That's Spock Ock.
He doesn't know.
I'm kidding, that's Tobey.
It's not.
That's definitely Tobey.
It's not Tobey.
This
Or
actually
that looks
isn't
like
the
Tom's.
spider.
This
Wait,
is the new.
No, look at
That's
that
the
spider.
comic Spider.
This is the new suit. Yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna say the new suit actually.
You didn't say
I
that.
swear to
didn't
God.
say that.
You
Swear to
said,
God.
You said
Swear to
Tobey
God.
Maguire.
Swear to God.
Doesn't look anything
Also-
like him.
Swear to God.
Alright, hold on. So since we are recording this as well on the phone, I'm assuming it's going to go to YouTube.
Is it going to YouTube?
I'd like you to show the camera how fucked up his head is.
Yeah, he's kidding. I don't know why his head is so. Oh wait, no, it's still god awful. But yeah, talking about Spidey.
Anyway, it's been about already like 2 months since this movie's come out,
It's crazy.
and it feels like when it was coming out, what was going through our minds?
The only thing that went through my mind for about a month, I don't want to sound like that guy, but I would fall asleep thinking Spidey. I'd wake up thinking Spidey. I'd eat dinner thinking No Way Home. And I'm just sitting there and I'm preparing myself for this masterpiece of a film that is about to come out in front of my eyes, and I'm just like, what could happen? There's so many options. And it did just that. It blew my mind when it came out.
I was very afraid for a long time that we wouldn't get Tobey or Andrew in the movie, and that was just my thoughts going in. And I was like, because if they don't have him in there, then it's kind of gonna be sludge no matter what, because I had these expectations and they're not gonna be met. But they obviously were, and it was exceeded and way above, and it was probably the best movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and we should probably say spoiler alert, even though it's been like 2 months. So if you haven't seen this, then you're stupid. But anyway, that's that. I'll put this in the beginning of the video. I wanted to start by saying how I gather my thoughts, and that there's no bias to basically anything that I'm saying. So I've seen the movie about 7 times now, about 5 times in the theater, and then like 2 times online.
Oops.
To just get a good idea of what I think of the movie and what I think of all the other Spider-Man movies, which I watched over again multiple times. So nothing I'm saying is going to be me drinking the Spider-Man Kool-Aid that I normally do, and I don't think it's going to be the same I think it's going to be the same for these guys too as well. So I did a fair amount of watching and thought before I say that this is just 10 out of 10 perfect. So basically I watched it over and over again, took notes and listened to the music, listened to the score, which I told these guys to do as well. Because Spidey Man's important to me, and it's important to a lot of people, as everyone knows. So I have to give him his credit where credit is due.
It was tough for me to listen to these scores. For some reason, they don't interest me that much. They're incredible during the movie.
Could agree.
But I can't get into the fact that I like what I think is cool, how they kind of intermix the theme songs into the movie, and everybody always loves like the original Spidey theme song and that type of stuff. But kind of you sent me like some scores that were kind of just fight scenes, and I know you love that, and I was kind of just like, oh, this is cool, but like I can't really get into the nitty gritty with
We're not
with
on
them.
the scores yet. You're skipping.
Yeah, but you mentioned
skipping
the
over.
you mentioned the scores.
Here.
Yeah. But it wasn't about like how much you like it. It's about the connection of all the other
which I did think was
soundtracks,
cool.
which was interesting. What they did,
I
they didn't
agree.
just do Easter eggs from the characters themselves. They did little music tiddlywinks in there as well. So I thought we would give our reviews on the previous Spider-Man movies before we get into this one. So, Spider-Man 1, PG-13 with Tobey Maguire, 2001, I think.
Yeah, 2000. No, 2002.
Something around there. We'll start with Weaston. What were your thoughts?
Spider-Man 1, probably number 2 for me. It would go No Way Home, Spider-Man 1, or potentially it's number 3 because I love Spider-Man 2. But anyway, Spider-Man 1, unbelievable. It's the origin of Tobey, and he murders it. A lot of people would say otherwise because it's Tobey and people just clown him for his acting, but I loved Spider-Man 1.
What else?
What did you think of Spider-Man 1?
Yeah,
It's not my
queasy
turn.
shit. Yeah, it is.
It's Jaden's turn.
Okay.
Spider-Man 1 was good. I think Tobey is probably... See, after No Way Home, the list of my Spider-Man changed a lot because all of them were so different, even in their respective movies they were different. So, like, in Tobey's movies, I would be totally honest, I don't think that he's that great. And I just think that the acting isn't always the best, and they're sometimes kind of cheesy and stuff. And I feel like that's funny, but, like, it's not that great of a movie, in my opinion. I love Spidey, and I love Tobey, but, like, Tobey in No Way Home is, like, a real actor, and it's just crazy, and especially Andrew, too. We're not there yet, but, like, I think they just change a lot. So, Spider-Man 1 was good, but definitely not in my top favorite Spider-Man movies.
So I grew up with Spider-Man, with Tobey Maguire, so my opinions are different. I think Spider-Man 1 does take a little bit to get into with the way the acting is and everything like that. Also, like, they made webs come out of his wrist, which isn't really comic book accurate, so when that came out, it's not, like, a super accurate thing. That doesn't really matter, but, like, that just goes to show you that it wasn't meant to be, like, a comic book movie. It was meant to be just, you know, hey, we gotta get a Spider-Man movie out there. I mean, the good thing that came out of Spider-Man 1 was Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin.
Yep.
And I think it was good to just have one villain in a movie, whereas when you get to Spider-Man 3, you have, like, three of them and all that kind of stuff. So, it's definitely not up there for my favorite Spider-Man movie, but I do think it's a good start. Like, some of the effects of him swinging through the city is really good for the time. Like,
yeah.
I think a lot of the swinging shots of Tobey is the best in all the Spider-Man movies.
I agree.
I think the suit is perfect.
The best.
I love how they did the wrestling thing in the beginning.
Yes, when he went into the ring. Yeah,
like,
that was.
They only touched
unreal.
on that in Andrew Garfield, but from an Easter egg standpoint when he fell through the ceiling, and they didn't do any of it with Tom.
No.
The Uncle Ben scene was okay. His crying is a little bad.
Yeah. He's like this.
But the thing with Tobey that I like is he's like, I think he's perfect, Peter Parker, because he, like, he's supposed to be corny. He's supposed to not be funny. He's supposed to do the thing with his hand. Like, he's supposed to be weird, and he's supposed to be. So, like, he's perfect. Like, there's a reason why the acting is like that. I mean, Tobey Maguire's a weird actor in the first place, but that's why he was perfect for that Peter Parker. So I still do think he's the perfect Peter Parker. But watching them all again, and Spider-Man 1 would be my top 3. But then when we get to Spider-Man 2...
See, but with the Spider-Man 1, one of my favorite things is the way... like when he's changing into Spider-Man after the spider bite. Spider butt. How he's like sweating and shit, and he walks in, and I don't know. I just like that the best out of, like, even when Andrew gets bit and Tom. I think that's the best, like, bite to Spider-Man.
I like Andrew's though.
Really?
Yeah. Like when he wakes up and he like smashes his alarm
Yeah,
clock.
that's funny. But like when Tobey grabs the string and pulls it, or is that the
That's
Tobey?
Andrew Garfield.
Is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like Andrew's too. I forgot that's how he did that. But Tobin's the best.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even put together my favorite Spider-Mans in a list. We can probably do that on the podcast and just think about it. I forgot to do that.
I know mine.
I'm too scared of because I'm gonna put Andy up there. Andy's gonna go up there.
Yeah, me too. Why don't we just do it now while we're talking about it?
Yeah, I agree.
No, we gotta get through all the reviews first.
Okay.
Spider-Man 2, which is considered one of the best comic book movies of all time, and definitely one of the best, if not the best, Spider-Man movie ever made. Doc Ock.
I digress.
And the acting in that is improved. The train fight scene, I think, is the best Spider-Man action scene ever made. And like that movie is the perfect example on like Tobey Maguire goes in there and he makes those ugly faces, but you can tell that he's being serious.
He is being serious.
We wouldn't make an attractive face when we were holding a
hell no!
train
I'd be
full.
leaking shit down my jumpsuit.
Yeah, his screams and his noises that he makes are like perfect, and he doesn't care how attractive they sound or how he looks, and that's why I like him the most.
Yeah.
So like, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is perfect. Like he was amazing. The horror element that they brought when the tentacles came to life, and but I can't like the train fight scene from like the music and the when he gets up onto the train. When they fall onto it and he does his like Spider-Man move.
Yeah.
It's so satisfying. The ending fight was not great. It wasn't really a fight.
No.
But like all the fights before it were good enough where it didn't really matter. So the train fight and then the bank fight.
But that kind of reminds me of, not to go on to the Andrew ones, but that kind of reminds me of the Spider-Man versus Electro fight. It was just kind of like quick, that end fight with him and Electro.
At the end?
Yeah, when
Wasn't
she.
that quick?
Yeah, it was. It was literally.
They also fought each other earlier in the movie.
I know, but it's like the end fight should be that one that you're like, holy Santa Claus shit.
Because the end fight was supposed to be a combine of him and the Goblin, which was the mistake of
Goblin?
Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah.
All right, I didn't mean to go on.
Yeah, you've derailed us.
I apologize.
But Spider-Man 2 is, I'll have to put together my list, but that is amazing, from like the acting to everything like about it. Like Harry was good in it too. The relationship of him and Mary Jane like was good.
Yeah.
I don't want to touch too much on these movies. I don't want to go too in depth and professional with it, but I like the whole sequence with the raindrops are falling on my head scene. I love when he bites into the hot dog and trips and he puts his glasses on. Like, it's classic.
Classic Tobin.
But that's a 10 out of 10 for me, that Spider-Man movie.
Not my favorite.
Yeah.
But it was good. We watched it when we built the... What's it called?
Bugle.
Yeah. The Daily Bugle Lego set. We watched the whole movie.
The Bugle.
It was good, but I think 3 is the best. We'll get to it, but
Agree.
2 is still good. I think was still better than 1. But again, not one of my favorites.
Definitely not my favorite out of all 3 Spideys. But it has see, I love Alfred, so I'm super biased towards it, so it makes me want to put it up higher. But the fight scene, the ending was so upsetting, but I don't know, man. I just can't say that that's my favorite one, because the movie was nowhere near as good as number 3 for me. Like with number 3, what goes on at the end, and dude, I can't.
Nonsense.
How? Tell me how.
Spider-Man 3 is way too messed up, and if anything, like
Messed up
Venom ruined it. Like,
No,
he's so bad.
bro.
Just because it was Brock, you don't
The
like
good-
Brock?
No, the good thing about Spider-Man 3, in my opinion, is the action. A lot of the fights are pretty good.
Perfect.
Like the
That's what I watched
Sandman
Spidey
fight
for.
in the city, and then the New Goblin and Spider-Man fight in the beginning when he smacks his head is like one of
Yes.
the best
Yeah.
fight scenes ever. But then once you get towards the end and Venom shows up for the last 15 minutes and the suit looks horrible and
The Venom suit
Yeah.
looks horrible.
yeah.
Venom or
looks
the
horrible.
black suit?
No, not on Tobey, the actual Venom. Like the Venom looks horrible. And the acting is terrible too. The fight, it wasn't even like a fight. He gets smashed by Sandman.
When Toby's getting housed and they're playing it, she's like, I don't know if Spider-Man will last much longer.
Exactly.
And
Just
in
getting-
comes goddamn Goblin? You're
Yeah.
telling me that your
Yeah.
cock didn't get rock solid when Goblin
Yeah.
came in there like that? Yost
It
and
is
Nate
nice.
into
I
Sandman.
like Spider-Man
Boom!
3 a lot more than what other people do, but it's definitely not better than 2.
It's the best
See, that's
one.
what I was reading while I was on my research. Everybody was like, Spider-Man 3 is horrible. Spider-Man 3 is not the
And
one.
also the Gwen Stacy and him kissing her
Love it.
subplot was stupid.
Love
Didn't make
it.
any sense.
Gwen Stacy's sexy and
No.
needs some baby
But it
boy
doesn't
Toby.
make sense. That's what I'm saying. It was out of his
Yeah, I
character
agree.
to
I
do
agree.
that.
I
Especially when he knew MJ was there. That was just nonsense subplot. And then the whole emo Toby, like I love because it's a meme, but it is fucking stupid. It is so.
You're
stupid.
telling me that, dude?
I said I love it because
Welcome
I said I
America.
love it because it's funny, and everyone else would agree with me. I love it because it's funny, but it's not needed. It's wasted time.
Welcome America
Like-
to Ebony.
That dancing
It
thing
is
in the
needed
club,
though because it's him being him in his head about what he's doing and turning into this bad guy because he is a symbiote,
Yeah, dude.
and it has to show how he's feeling and how much different he is than how he is normally.
Yeah,
It's,
Ebony.
it's a funny movie, but it's not a great movie. Like we like it for the same reason
I
why
can
we
agree.
like Thor Ragnarok. It's funny, but it lacks a lot of other good things
I
to make
actually-
a good movie.
I
There's not
disagree.
enough. There's not a lot of emotion at all. in
See, but that's
Spider-Man
almost
3.
how I feel with all of the Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. None of them are great movies.
I think 2 is a great movie.
I think they're all kind of okay, but 3 has the best action sequences and
I could
has
probably agree it has the best
has
action.
the
for
coolest
sure.
just fighting, and 1 and 2 are basically the same tone, but they raise the action for 3, and that's why I like 3 more. Or the best out of Tobey's.
It's,
And I would put that in my top 3 Spider-Man movie.
yeah, I mean, I still like 3. I just don't like it. It's definitely not in my top 3. Like, I'd have to think about it. I mean, I do think it's better than Spider-Man Homecoming, for sure.
I can agree with that. Spider-Man 3, you're saying? Or Spider-Man 2?
No, Tom Holland's first movie.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Spider-Man 3, I think, is better than Homecoming.
Okay.
But Andrew Garfield's first Spider-Man,
Unbelievable.
Banged ass.
I don't love both of those movies, but watching the first one, like I hate his suit, first of all. The first suit with the gold eyes, I think looks horrible. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit I love, which is the one that he has in No Way Home.
No Way
It
Home,
actually
yeah.
looks right. And when
I
you
agree.
watch the opening scene where he's swinging in the city and catching the rhino, it's probably my favorite swinging scene. But
So-
Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 1 had a lot of highlights, like when he saves the kid from the car. But like I can't even think of any good fight scenes in that movie besides when he's in the high school.
I think when him and Electro first meet, and
That's
he's
not
like,
the first Amazing Spider-Man.
That's not.
First
that's
Amazing
the second
Spider-Man
one.
is Lizard.
oh, that's the first
I
one.
can totally agree with that. I
Oh.
hate all the fighting in the first one.
Okay, I mixed up the 2 then. I think the second one is really, really good. The first
the
one.
second
I
one
love them
I
both.
think is better
Easy.
than the first one. I love Andrew Garfield for like how he is as Spider-Man though, like when he's in the car and he's with the car thief and he's like making all kinds
Yeah,
of jokes and
and
stuff.
he's-
Like that's the way Spider-Man's supposed to
Yes. And
Um,
how Tom was
which
in
Tobey-
Civil War
be. Yeah.
when he was
well,
beating
kinda,
Bucky's ass and
Yeah.
Cap.
Yeah. He was making jokes, but I do think Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire is my favorite Spider-Man, and that opinion has changed in my opinion because Tobey I always thought was the best, and then when I rewatched everything, and I always liked Andrew Garfield. I'm not like a bandwagoner. I wasn't one of those guys that didn't like him.
I thought I
Um,
remember you saying a couple times that you hate him.
No, I said I hated those movies.
Maybe.
I do. I don't think his movies.
But you
are
and
good.
I are also a little biased now after
No way.
no
Mhm.
his other movie.
Oh, Tick Tick.
Yeah, because now we love him for that too, and he was just so good in that.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, no, I never really liked his movies that much, but I've always didn't really have a problem with him. Now, what I had a problem with when I first saw him was I hated how cool he was in high school, except it doesn't make any damn sense. Peter Parker doesn't skate, and he doesn't look like that.
But he was kind of like a degenerate, and people were like fucking with him, like that. What's his name?
Yeah, Flash.
Flash. And when he did that, but then again, he like did that cool shit with the basketball scene.
Yeah, he can play basketball.
And he absolutely standing jammed.
Yeah.
But he's Spidey, so obviously he can absolutely.
But that doesn't teach you dribbling and stuff skills where you're dribbling onto your legs into the dunk.
That's true.
That doesn't make any sense. So that's what bugged me about him. And I like Andrew Garfield now more as an actor than when he was younger. Anyway, like I liked him in The Social Network.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked him in Tick Tick Boom a lot now, a lot better than anything else that he's like really been in. But I wasn't a huge fan of this Spider-Man one. There's not many highlights that come to mind besides when he got bit and when he fought Lizard in the high school.
Yeah, I can agree with that totally. I did not like the fighting in that first one at all, and I hate Lizard. Even in No Way Home, I don't like Lizard.
He's terrible.
He's the worst villain. They should have replaced him with somebody else. Literally should have replaced him with Venom in No Way Home.
I would have rather had a Rhino, but not the stupid.
Not that
Rhino
piece of
suit.
shit from
So we
Amazing.
can go to the Amazing Spider-Man 2. The opening scene, him and Gwen. I don't really like Electro that much. That was my problem with Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't think there was enough fight scenes in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Can agree.
At all. I also hate Harry in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think the actor's horrible.
Oh, isn't he that little twerk actor?
He's stupid looking.
He's
like,
a piece of shit.
I can't stand him. So he ruins a lot of Andrew's movies for me.
Yeah.
And he's only in the second one. I can't stand him at all. So the Goblin stuff should have just been scrapped.
Yep, scrapped completely.
And focused more on Electro somehow, or at least add in Rhino as another villain, but in the regular Rhino suit.
Mm-hmm.
Or even adding like Kingpin or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like would have been fine. But I love everything with him and Gwen. I love his suit in that one. I love the dialogue in that one.
Emma Stone just absolutely rocked it too, dude.
I think that scene I was bringing up earlier, I thought that was the first one when they first meet him and Electro, and then it's like the slow-mo action shots where he's like, and like the web's like a hand. It looks
and, like he's like
that's
shooting
literally
goofy ropes.
That's the second coolest action sequence or scene in a Spider-Man movie. I think that's the second best scene.
And the music too.
Yes,
for when
God,
Electro's
theme
and everything.
Yeah.
But also, I think his theme and I think James Horner's theme in the first Amazing Spider-Man is better than Hans Zimmer's theme for Spider-Man. But I do like Hans Zimmer's Electro theme.
Yeah.
In the second one, because Horner's theme is the one that plays in No Way Home.
Yep.
Which is the better one. But yeah, I don't think either of his movies are that good. They have a lot of shining like moments, but it's not like a good movie as a whole. When we saw it when we were kids and we saw it in Maryland, I remember seeing it in Maryland with Jake and all that.
Yeah.
I loved it back then, but now watching it again, it's just not a great movie. Both of them aren't really good movies.
I watched The Amazing Spider-Man online probably 5 times after No Way Home.
Oops.
And I love it. I love The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it's my second favorite.
It's so, dude, Andrew's such a dope Spider-Man in that, and he kind of matured from just The Amazing Spider-Man to that one, and he was like not trying to be as cool and quirky and stuff, and it was that second one was just unbelievable to me.
I think going back to number one again, Tobey's, I'd say, because I didn't really give a ranking system, I'd say like so far like Tobey's first Spider-Man, if it's like out of 5, I'd probably give it like a 3. And then Spider-Man 2, I'd give a 5. I get a 5 out of 5. Spider-Man 3, I'd probably give a 3 out of 5 as well. Amazing Spider-Man 1, I'd give like a 2. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'd give like a 3.
All right, up yours. we're gonna have to talk about that later. Something else I wanted to mention in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the Gwen Stacy death scene. How can you not mention that? That's massive in No Way Home.
No one talks about that.
Yeah, but it's massive. That's such a massive part in No Way Home that set up something in No Way Home that everybody stood up for and went woo-hoo. And then when it happens, it's like I'm gonna cry now.
Well, that was Sony's terrible way of making him stay into New York and not go to London or wherever with her.
That's true.
And they also set up the Sinister Six in the end credits at Oscorp because they were planning on doing a Sinister Six with Andrew Garfield, but then since Sony sucks at making movies and they suck as a company and they kicked Andrew off the scene, we didn't get to see it. Which could have been for the best, because if that didn't happen, then we might not have gotten everything that we got afterwards.
Yeah.
Bless you. But yes, that brings us into Tom, in which he first appeared in Civil War, which is another 5 out of 5 movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my favorite MCU movie, honestly.
Wait. Could you repeat that?
It's hard for me to
Stare at
pick.
the
No,
camera
it's
and
hard
say
for me
that.
to pick No Way Home over Civil War.
We're not sure if he's on heroin or not, but
It's really
we'll check
hard.
him for
How
it.
can
So you're gonna put Civil War over Endgame
Oops.
and No Way Home?
Oops.
I think so.
Dude,
Podcast is over.
Yep. You gotta think about it. You
get me
gotta
out of here.
you gotta
Wrap
think
a
about
wrap a
what's in-
fucking bag around my head and make me choke.
That's
It's
gonna.
hard to just pick like Endgame when like Infinity War is also really good. Like it's hard to compare Infinity War and Endgame too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna throw Civvy?
Yeah, that's
I
not.
would-
Because Civil
put-
War is amazing too.
I agree, but it's not.
Like the
That ain't
emotion in
it,
it
yeah.
too, with like
The
Iron Man
emotion.
at the end.
Oh, would you like to talk about emotion?
Get back far from the mic.
Would you like to talk about emotion? How about
Yes.
Iron Man sitting on his knees?
In the final 15 minutes of the movie, what else?
Yeah, so what emotion is ran through Civil War that's not in
Besides the
all
fight
of
between him
Endgame?
and
The
Cap.
fact that they're going back in time and finding people that are dead
Everything.
now.
See, but
Cap and Tony are fighting the whole time. Everyone's fighting with each other, and the Avengers are breaking up.
Who dies?
What?
Who dies?
I mean, nobody dies. But
Oops.
I agree, but see, it's tough to like try to make someone
Black
change their
Panther's
mind.
introduced. Spider-Man's introduced.
I'm not gonna try to
Black
make you change
Panther's
your mind
dad
on what
is
you
dead.
like better.
Yeah, I'm saying this is where
But-
Tom first gets introduced.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Matarus.
and I remember seeing that in the trailer and freaking out because it was the first comic book accurate suit that we've ever had.
Mhm.
I did think originally that he was like way too young, and like thinking like I knew that it was gonna be, but then when I figured out that they were doing a middle school or like freshman
High school. Yeah.
year, Tom, that's what made a little bit more sense, because they start in like the comics when he's like a senior and then going to college and stuff. So like it makes sense, but like Homecoming, I can't, like it's hard for me to watch that movie because there's almost no fight scenes in it. And the fight scenes that are in it, I think, are stupid.
Homecoming was a rough one.
Yeah, so like that was more of a like fan service of seeing him and Iron Man together and setting up his character. And when you take all 3 movies as a whole, it's important because it sets everything up
Correct.
that
Yep, I agree.
Tom like goes through and matures and stuff. But like, I'm also not a fan of Ned. Like I really don't really like Ned at all.
I goddamn hate Ned.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Mhm.
It's
He's
like you're
useless.
not funny.
No, he's not.
You're
funny.
not funny, buddy. It just doesn't make sense to have it. It should be somebody else
Mhm.
that could then be the Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
Ned can't fucking be the
He
Hobgoblin.
can run.
No.
I agree though. Yeah.
It's like that was a poor casting choice. Everybody else I think is pretty good. The teachers are hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I love Zendaya a lot.
Love her.
I think the Liz
Shouts Rue.
storyline was really stupid. She was
Liz. Yeah. Why?
useless.
Why?
Just probably to set up that Vulture
just
daughter
set up
thing.
Vulture, yeah.
I also
True,
thought
but,
Vulture
like,
was botched. Like
Vulture should have been.
I would have rather had. Oh my god! I would have rather had the old man Vulture, who's like creepy as hell in the comics. Like, he's
Yeah.
old and he is.
Michael Squeaton
Vulture
is
suit.
old though.
But he
Yeah, but
he could have done it, but I don't want the Stark Tech like nonsense Vulture.
Yeah.
Like I wanted a like the famous clock tower scene. Like I wanted one of those like with Vulture. Like, and now he's wasted into this like robotic Vulture thing.
Mhm.
Like I wanted something more than that. there's not much to talk about in
No.
that movie. There really isn't.
The ending fight scene wasn't terrible though. Him and Vulture.
I think it was horrible.
I didn't think it was that bad.
All he does is slam him into the sand like 3
No.
times and then like pull him out of the fire.
Dude,
That's all he does.
Well,
remember when he
it
absolutely
starts-
fucks Tom in
in
the
building.
building and
Yeah.
Tom's stuck and
It's
And
not
then he's
really
like-
a
he's
fight.
like, "Come on, Peter.
He sends his
Come
suit
on,
around
Spidey."
and, while he's talking and drops the building on him. They don't even fight each other.
No,
He just
but
runs away.
I'm not saying it was a great fight. I'm saying it wasn't horrific. It wasn't
I don't think it was
too
a
bad.
fight. It was an escape.
No, but that led into the fight then.
He when he swallows like that. Yeah, I mean, Homecoming is probably my
That could
second
be.
least favorite
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie.
Welcome Brandon to the set.
And then Far From Home was a huge step up, which came out right after Endgame.
Yes.
And it was the first Spider-Man movie without Tony Stark. But I also love Jake Gyllenhaal and I love Mysterio, and I think they did him okay. I would have liked to. I'm hoping that he's still alive or something, like, because I really like Mysterio and I don't want him to just be thrown out like that.
I feel like he would have came up in No Way Home though.
No.
Nah, he'd be in hiding. He can't do anything. He used to rebuild. He doesn't have any of the Tony Stark stuff anymore.
Sure.
But I love he's probably my favorite Spider-Man villain, like in the comics. Like I love Mysterio
Really?
a lot. Yeah.
Hmm.
Him and Kraven the Hunter, who's not out. Who's
What
not.
about Venom, dude?
Venom's not really a villain in my opinion. He's an anti-hero. He teams up with Spider-Man a lot.
Yeah, I guess. That's true.
And I'm not like the biggest Venom fan. Like I'd take Mysterio over him as a villain. I mean Venom's cooler because he actually has powers. Mysterio's not really.
That's what I'm saying.
Powers,
He's just a fake
but not a lot of
bozo.
superheroes in Spider-Man's world have powers. A lot of them are just strong or have technology or they're smart. Like Vulture doesn't have powers, Rhino doesn't have powers, Kraven's just a hunter, like a professional hunter.
Goblin has like super
Goblin
strength.
has Serum and Venom.
Serum,
and Venom, Electro, yeah, so they're like
Sandman.
three. Yeah, but he has a lot of
Cock
villains
Farm.
that don't have powers. Like Doc Ock doesn't have powers either. That's science.
That's true.
Oculus.
But what are your thoughts on Far From Home?
Love it. The fight scenes, the last fight scene, when Peter actually figures out how to end up beating Mysterio, unbelievable. When his Spidey senses go off and everything's dark, and he's just running through, dodging the goddamn drones, and he gets up to it. Oh, dude, and doing flips over them shits in slow mo. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
That is just classic.
He's the best.
Spidey sense.
Yeah.
It was so good. And I even loved when he got his ass walloped by Mysterio and ended up in wherever he was.
Yugoslavia.
Yeah,
That's not really where it was.
whatever. But it was just crazy how the drones worked and that scene turned out. It was great.
Those visuals for those like monster element monster things are awesome.
Yeah.
And like I think one of the best scenes in that one is like the lava one where when in the Ferris wheel shit and he has this like noir
black
suit
noir.
or whatever.
I hate that suit.
It's a terrible looking suit.
But it's
it'll do
fits
the
the
trick.
vibe.
Monkey.
Yeah.
The night monkey. Dude.
I love this. The best part about that movie is are the teachers.
Yes,
The
that's
guy
what I
with
was
the-
just
the
about
guy-
to say.
The guy with the glasses.
Circle
He
glasses.
tries to-
Hilarious.
He tries to take a picture of himself and then the camera
Yeah.
the camera falls in the water.
Oh
And then the
god.
black guys or whatever his name is. What's his name? I don't remember his name in the show. The one teacher's Mr. Harrington. No, I think the other guy's name is the other guy's name is Julius. Because when he's
yeah.
when they're on the train at the end, he's like, "I'm trying my best, Julius." And I always laugh when I watch that movie because every time they're about to go do something like goes wrong. Something like they're like walking down the one
And
like alleyway and all of a sudden water comes
Yeah.
in and Mr. Harrington's like,
oh shit.
And then they still want to go and do stuff, and then Julius in the one place like, "Your socks get wet," and they don't even know what the hell he's saying. Like, he's like, "You don't take pictures of people in the bathroom. That's weird.
It's weird.
You don't do that."
Yeah. And then the whole like rivalry that Peter and Flash have, and that guy that's trying to get with Zendaya. Brad.
I hate
I
Brad.
beat the piss out of Brad.
Freaking hate Brad.
That little asshole, dude. I love how that scene where they're on the bus and he activates his Stark glasses.
It's one of the
Sends
worst
them
shots
out.
in all of Spider-Man
And he
movies.
jumps up
when
and
he
he's
jumps
like-
up and his lips look all
Yeah.
freaking weird. That's worse than the Yelena thing in
Yeah.
Black Widow when
Yeah,
she jumps
when she
when
jumps
when
through
the
the-
green screen looks horrible.
Yeah.
That whole scene could have been avoided. But yeah, that. I mean, the ending set up No Way Home, which is what we will get into now. I'm thinking we're gonna make this a side episode of us doing this part because this took way too long. So what I think we should do is end the review process for the 3 Spider-Man movies now, or I should say the 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7, and then we're gonna get to No Way Home.
7.
So, well, yeah, because we're gonna talk about No Way Home.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
next one. So those were our first thoughts on the first 7 movies, not including Spider-Verse.
Yippee-ki-yay.
So we're
We
gonna
won't
end that
include
piece
that
here
version.
for our Patreon episode.
Patreon.
Yeah, that was our Patreon episode. If you want to see the rest,
Sign up.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Love you, Chris.
Shout out to Chris for Leah Diarrhea. So yeah, we're gonna end this portion now, and we're gonna get into No Way Home. So thanks for listening to this extra,
Squeezy
and
shit. Yep.
we will see you soon, baby.
Gangsters.
Yeah. That was without me warming up.
Wait, hang on, I'm forgetting something. I think.
Shooting goofy ropes.
Let's give our list first before we end this episode
A list of what?
of favorite Spidey movies.
Movies.
So let's start with you, Rustin.
Immediately,
Wilson Park.
this is one of the easiest choices. We'll
No,
start
from back to top.
We'll start from back. Very very much agree.
Why don't we all give her 3, all give her 2, all give her 1.
No, up here. Shut your goddamn trap.
Jugular.
So we're gonna go ahead and very easily throw Homecoming in the least in number 10
10.
or 7.
8.
We're gonna throw Homecoming in 8, and we're gonna throw Spider-Man.
No, wait, you just give your last one. So Homecoming's your last one, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
Amazing
we did
Spider-Man
nothing.
1 is my last one.
Spider-Man 1 is my 8.
Oof.
I wanna knock his lid off his head.
Put it on 7. That's not that much different.
What?
So your last one is Spider-Man 1.
No, I'm saying Amazing Spider-Man 1 is my second. Or number 7.
What was 8? Homecoming?
Yes.
Okay.
Then yours is
Go
your 7 is Amazing
Homecoming,
Spider-Man 1.
Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Okay. My 7th is Homecoming.
My 7 is Amazing Spider-Man 1.
My 6th is Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, I think for a second. My 6th would.
We're doing this backwards and it makes it hard.
It doesn't. My 6th is.
Brain's like scrambled eggs right now.
My brain's like Scrapple.
It's a toss up between Spider-Man 1 and Amazing Spider-Man 2.
What?
That's
Go
so
Web.
hard. That's so hard.
Go, Web, go!
I'm gonna put Amazing.
Don't mess up.
Good.
Get that nasty feeling out of your throat.
It's just
I'm
me.
also thinking about Far From Home
Just
isn't
me.
that good either, but.
Just me.
Far From Home is pretty good.
Oh man.
Definitely better than Spider-Man 1.
Oh, oops, yep.
Fine, I'll put Spider-Man 1 as my 6th.
Yes, dude. 6 is Homecoming.
Okay, so I got Homecoming, Amazing Spider-Man 2, or 1, Spider-Man 1, and then The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for 5.
Yeah, I'd say Amazing Spider-Man 2 would be 5 as
Thanks
well.
for taking my list.
I would say
Notes.
Spider-Man 2.
That's hard.
So we're on 4. We'll go ahead and put Spider-Man 2 for 4.
4 would be... I'd probably say Far From Home would be 4 for me.
I would say Far From Home for 4 as well.
So 3, I'm going to go ahead and put Far From Home.
We got what, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, and No Way Home. Spider-Man 3 for 3.
I would say Spider-Man 2 for 3.
So for 2, I'll end up going Spider-Man 3. And then No Way Home for number 1. We did this in such a shitty manner.
Would you like to answer the question, sir?
I'm deciding between my number 1, between Spider-Man 2 and No Way Home.
This is dead air.
Wait, are you nuts?
Dead air.
What you're saying is you think Spider-Man 2 could be better than No Way Home.
Oops.
Man, oh man. Get a load of this motherfucker.
No, I'll put Spider-Man 2 and then No Way Home.
I can't
at
even
least
believe
right
it
now.
took you even that
Yeah,
long.
so let's do a quick summary.
Wait,
So-
Are you
yeah, I didn't
serious?
finish my order yet, jackass.
Go ahead.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 was number 2, and No Way Home was number 1.
Obviously. I don't get you right now.
Why?
How does that make sense?
You have Alfred Molina in No Way Home. Not
Yeah.
only Alfred
Wait,
Molina.
you could genuinely
Willem
sit
Dafoe.
here and say you enjoyed Spider-Man 2 more than No Way Home.
It's really tough because 2 is such a good movie.
I think.
Dude. I'm gonna throw this Uncrustable at you.
I
Oh,
would expect
I feel
kids
you.
of your age to
No, that's
think
absurd.
that without
That's
thinking
absurd.
that.
You can't say kids of your age.
Yeah, because
He's
a lot
20.
of kids would think that's
You
better.
know how much I love Tobin. You know how
I
much
think you have to
love Tobin.
rewatch Spider-Man 2 again.
No, I don't.
When's the last time you watched it?
Literally last week.
No,
If-
you
I
didn't
think
watch it last week.
Yes, I did watch it last
No, you
week.
didn't.
Okay.
What'd you watch it on?
I watched it on today.
Oops.
Goofy
Illegal.
Lopes.
It's illegal.
Sure.
He just admitted fraud.
I do
Alright,
do fraud.
so those are our lists. For our favorite, we're gonna cut this episode here now, right? Everybody
See
say
you,
bye
Goofy
bye.
Ropes.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Eat ooze.
Christmas baby Jesus.